let's move on to other issues. Now we're getting a lot more information in this whole police recruitment scam. The Graphic today is reporting that it's been established that some 2.7 million Ghana cedis was paid to 1,100 people as bribes in the recent scam recruitment into the Ghana Police Service. The victims are said to have paid between 2,000 Ghana cedis and 7,000 Ghana cedis to be recruited into the service, but the admission letters they received turned out to be fake. The victims include graduates of senior high schools and tertiary institutions across the country, and a source at the Attorney General's Department who made this known to the Daily Graphic in an interview in Accra yesterday said investigators had also traced the bank accounts the money was paid into. We're also told that the signature which was supposedly that of Patrick Timbillah, the interdicted Director General of the Human Resource Department of the Ghana Police Service, is now going to go through a process. It will come out and then we will know if indeed that is his real signature. But what does this tell us? Well, what does this tell us?
This is very scandalous. One of the most scandalous things to have happened to this country. Because if we're recruiting police officers, we want the brightest and the best. We want people who would police this country so that we'll be at peace. If, for whatever reason, people would have to pay bribes before they are recruited into the service, then we are all in trouble. We are all in serious trouble, because it means you've not taken the trouble to make sure that you have people competent enough to run the police service. Elsewhere, they even go to the highest institution of learning, look for brightest people and poach them. The word is poaching. They poach them. It's like a coach looking at a player in another team and say that this player should play in my team come the next season. Poach the best to come and run the police service. And if for whatever reason you fall foul of the law, they chuck you out. But here's a situation where it's like, come and pay and let me put you in. It's most scandalous. And I'm surprised that as we speak, apart from the Human Resource Director General, Timbillah, who is under the microscope, some have not even found it right to even resign.
Are you expecting anybody to resign? Nobody else's name has come up.
No, but what kind of supervision do they have in the service? That people will have to carry their boxes and everything to the police depot before you know there's a scam. I can't believe this.
Who are you expecting to resign?
No, but do they have a team, a group which should supervise this? Does it fall on one person to be able to go through all this? Does he have supervisors? He's not the highest person or body in that service. And I'm surprised that a service, police service as it is, did not even have any intelligence report to be able to say that this is what was going on and we need to nip it in the bud. It had to take people to carry their things. That is the most bizarre aspect, that people will have to carry their wares to the police depot that have come to report that have been recruited to start training before all this came out. I would have expected that they had a system, foolproof system in place, that if anybody wanted to denigrate a system, they would have put it in check before it reaching such a level that 1,100 paid so much, and after even paying, it was not detected. But they had to appear physically before all this came out. So it's an indictment on the service. It's an indictment.
But you're making it sound like a lot more people were involved.
Not necessarily. If we are not involved, people were lax in their supervision. That's why I'm saying that in this day and age, policing is not about brute force or physical presence. It's about intelligence. And if you win your own system, you could not detect this. For it to become so scandalous, so embarrassing to the institution, then there's something really wrong. we could dwell on this, but we should even look at the larger picture. What other things have we allowed to go on in the service, which would not have come out? You understand? Because all our lives are in your hands. As for the military, they only come in when they think the police is not up to the task or they need support. That's what happens everywhere. They bring in National Guard if the police is facing what is more difficult than they're supposed to face. It's the same here. As for the military, they are there somewhere. They have their role to play, but the police, the institution is so critical that if we wait for such a scandal to happen, that means we have to examine the whole institution again. It should not only end that we are waiting on the AG, we want to prosecute. There should have been a very serious commission of inquiry. Very serious one. Everybody will appear. What really happened? What really went wrong? Well, all that we've heard from the police council is that we are following issues. Initially, indeed, what we heard was that even the Director General had been placed under house arrest, which they had to reverse because it was unconstitutional. But the larger picture is, how are we dealing with such a situation so that doesn't occur again? And what is the police telling us?
Do you feel that we have control over the situation?
The more, probably, some of us are waiting for the matter to get to court. We listen to all the charges. The evidence will then come out, and then we'll see how far we've gone. But so far, I must say that there's a lot we need to do. I must say that, indeed, we haven't, because we are now in a committee of nations. Others look at us. They look at your reputation and say, Ghana, you have a very high reputation. But is it how you even go about your recruitment process? And if that's so, then there's a lot you need to do. So we need to hear a lot more from police council and the hierarchy of the police service about this matter. It's scandalous.
Yeah, you remember when the issues first came out, the police took it over to investigate. There were issues about the fact that they are investigating themselves and therefore they should not be allowed. But they gave all the assurances that within their setup they are capable administratively. So thank God they've come this far to establish some issues, but it doesn't end.
Hasn't this been rather slow?
Well, it depends on the evidence gathering. You cannot just put that level of time limit, depending on how far issues are going, which is not in the public domain. But at least some evidence has come, but it is not just enough. We are told this one is with the age for advice, but then they are looking at the fingerprinting. To me, the presence of the so-called recruits, it's something that is quite surprising. But the fastest time, you can carry your suitcase and everything. It doesn't mean you can go into the police force. Because difficulty, how are you going to get into the police force? So there's more to come. And seriously, we are waiting for the entire report to bring out the processes. So to get evidence against somebody, you need to go to and get the proof right. So it's good they want to go and find out whether the signature is a signature or not. I'm sure.
But isn't this something they should have done from the very beginning?
No, it depends on the establishment of the course of action. You go through a process. If the person comes and says, that's my signature, you don't need to do it. But it goes to a point where it comes and, no, this is not my signature, somebody can say. Or somebody can even say that, well, somebody may have done photocopies, may have stolen a letter from our office. So many things will come up, which we wouldn't know. And that's why we always have to wait coolly and wait for other issues to come. So I'm sure they are just a feedback of what has been done so far. So let's look at that outcome, look at Attorney General, and eventually, like he said, if it goes to court, if it should be, we also try to look at it. Based on the evidence, some other jobs would have to be done. So for me, I'm critically waiting for the eventual outcome, because I will not rush to impute motives.
Have you been thinking about the possible people who are in the force today, who have been through this illegal process and are now police officers?
The tendency for anyone to think that one is there. I wouldn't begrudge anyone who wants to do that. But obviously, you need evidence to say that indeed that has been going on. You can suspect.
Because if this went this far and it wasn't even noticed till the very last minute, you know, they were almost into it.
No, in government establishment, that's not how it is done. Because if you have not been given the financial clearance by Ministry of Finance, how would they be recruited? They cannot be supported to go into the service.
No, so there are some people who are working who don't receive their salaries, but they're working. They've been recruited.
Well, ages.
No, you would have to look at something. What I'm saying, if you don't know, when you go to financial clearance, it's only Ministry of Finance. So if I recruit you because I'm a minister or I'm in whatever position and that clearance has not come, there's no way the controller will pay you. So when you hear people like that, you need to go back and look whether they've gone through the process, and based on the clearance they have been recruited, they've gone through the biometric registration and they've been absorbed by the controller. So remember the issue that happened at Kolebu, where they took on the nurses, thinking that they will use their internal generation to pay. Eventually, when issues came, it went to central government. But those people were not recruited by the Ministry of Health by any clearance. So it's a process of recruitment, and it's difficult to do it. And that's why we need to go into it very, 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 very strongly. So critically, we should wait for final outcome and then draw fast conclusions, which they will do for us. And then look at whether we should go back and look at what has been done. But I wouldn't begrudge anyone who wants to say that if that is the case, but the outcome will determine whether the suspicion is right or not.
Honorable Obiamo, I remember Parliament was calling for an independent commission of inquiry. You didn't quite get it, but yeah. But what would you? Is Parliament interested in doing anything beyond what we know, beyond what the service itself is doing?
Well, what I know is that the Defense and Interior Committee has been trying to find out what has been going on. Indeed, they've even met some of the leaders of the police service. But as I said, once that committee even believes, or most of the members of the committee believe that there should be a high-powered committee of inquiry, I think that will assuage the anxieties and fears of the average person. Because you ask the right question: for how long have you been doing this? And I always give my example where I was given a police bodyguard, and they had to withdraw him because they thought he wasn't fit enough to be my bodyguard because he had some issues as a police officer. So earlier we agreed that we should have a very efficient police service with high integrity. The better it will be for all of us. Sometimes as politicians, they put pressure on us to get them to be recruited into the system. The more we do this, these are the problems that we get. This is a situation where they have even been asked to pay, as the story says. But sometimes people even use their positions to get people recruited. And that's also wrong. You heard the defense minister, former health minister, former majority leader, Kumbo, speaking on your network saying that the way things are going, we end up with people in various institutions who are not fit to be there. And I hope this doesn't become a Timbillah affair. Whatever the outcome, that is the end of the matter. There should be thorough investigation into this and then root out all the issues. Because sometimes you hear a lot of stories and sometimes you get even worried. Though one person in government has managed to get about 50 persons recruited in a particular service. It's worrying. Is it just protocol, and everything is protocol? There's some places you may have protocol. If I'm at the Ministry of Youth and Sports, and people want to get to stadium, and supporters union come, and I instruct that give them tickets. It's protocol. They go and watch, I can account for it. It may not harm the society. But if I'm able to write that this is a list of 50 persons, get them into the army, get them into the police because I say so. Because I say so, they don't go through the rigorous procedure. It's very dangerous. And I'm saying that more things will come out if we delve into it. It should then not be only those who have paid. Some people will say that Minister A or MPB gave me a list of persons to be recruited.
Isn't that the fear, Honorable Akon? Because if there are other people involved, one way or the other, then we would not get to the bottom of this. This would just be a piece of investigation that is ongoing for like forever.
Well, to be honest to you, that's why I also support that it should not be a Timbillah affair, because he has claimed innocence of all these issues until it's gone to the end and it's been proven guilty as a result. So it should be a systematic view of the issues. Remember, in the current recruitment of the military, there's a process they brought, and that was very interesting. And they bring the advert and talk about the minimum requirements to enter the service. And they did a software, a program, so that you go and apply on the net, and immediately you put in your details, you get an immediate response, not shortlisted. You don't have one WASI. Your age is that. That solved a huge chunk of the problem. Even the pressure on ministers and MPs, that solved it, because you have been told straight away that you cannot move the next step. And I think from this one, various recommendations will come, where systems will be put in place to make it more transparent and more, the checks will be so good for us.
Do we have a protocol list? Do we have protocols in the police service, the military, that kind of thing?
Let's not run away. There's no definition of protocol list. But obviously, for you, for me, for everybody, when you know somebody, the friends of your friends are your friends, and therefore when somebody needs help, you would want to help. But the bottom line is, does the person qualify? That's the most important. I remember two things happened when I was in the district as a chief executive. In the nursing training schools, they started to bring minimum qualification, 6 on the core subjects. So they wrote to all the assemblies. The very first year they wanted to implement, they said it was late, so it was postponed to the following year. So they brought letters to the assembly and told that the minimum for core should be 6. So that if anything at all, if you don't get 6 in the core, you don't come in at all. So we should soften the process. Out of protocol, there will not be any list. But believe me, you, OB, myself, if we knew people, there's the tendency of us calling for support. That one should not be surprising.
I don't believe in protocol.
You've never.
No.
It will be difficult to talk about.
I remember I went to Wesley Girls, and the authorities, they were even complaining. What's going on? There's this whole list that they said quota this, so we should admit them. But when they come, they are not up to standard. And that is what it is. I mean, if you dwell so much on protocol, you end up pushing people in who are not entitled.
Yeah, but what he's saying is qualified people, because you definitely.
If the people are qualified, why are they on the protocol list? If they are qualified, why are they on protocol list?
Because if you bring the secondary school issue in, for instance, there's a computer that is placing.
Yes.
So I may qualify and want to go to Wesley Girls,
yes,
but the computer won't put me there.
So why would you want to go there?
Yeah, I mean, if I know you're honorable and you have a relationship with the headmistress, and you can sort me out.
Isn't
that what normally happens? This is like an everyday thing.
What I'm saying is that it should not be the norm. If you say it's the norm, then we are in trouble.
Yeah, no, it should not be the norm.
That is why the defense minister now, that's why he was complaining. If 2% managed to sneak through because of so-called protocol, you may not be too alarmed. But why you have a whole list and then they end up being 60%, we are all in trouble.
Well, I've had a bit of a relationship with some of the headmasters and the principals, and I've not seen the school, I don't know, getting protocol as a norm. Honestly, they are very tight on that, but protocol is difficult. I mean, chiefs and everybody will come in. But I'm saying the basic thing that the person should qualify. In any case, university is the same thing. They give you the benchmark, you should qualify. But it should not be the norm. That should be a common agreement. I think that's what they do.
So we agree on it shouldn't be the norm?
No, not at all. It's too dangerous.
Let's move to our final issue, and I'm picking it from the final newspaper. The headline is on the front page. Government loses 500 billion Ghana cedis to duty exemptions in 2014 alone. And I remember the traders, the people doing business, crying because of the taxes on import. And I remember some of them storming our studio, trying to make their voices heard. So when I saw the story, I was like, oh, wow. This is our own institutions spending so much on exemptions, and Parliament is featured here. Yeah. So it would be good for you to tell us what exactly Parliament does that in 2014 alone, the paper is reporting that exemptions granted by Parliament amounted to 214.18 million Ghana cedis.
Yes, it's worrying, very worrying. And I remember very well that the late Prof. Samos, in his first State of the Nation address, he said that they had come to meet an exemptions regime which they thought should be looked at, and if possible, reduce the kind of exemptions we give when it comes to these things. Going down the line, it has multiplied 5-fold, 10-fold. It's worrying. Worrying in the sense that you have so-called investors coming into the country, And part of the agreement that they have with government is that I want to be exempted from VAT payment, from whatever tax, from duty. It's part of the agreement that they sign with such persons. And because Parliament is the only institution that can give approval, they bring it to Parliament. The finance minister brings it to Parliament. Typical, I don't want to mention companies, but very huge companies. At a go, they tell you $35 million waived, exempted, because that's what is in the agreement before they bring in their money to come and invest. And some of us have been following this very well. And it's worrying. Worrying in the sense that if you can raise so much from duties and etc., why should we agree to such some of these arrangements and then get them to go scot-free? Indeed, the IMF has even raised it. The IMF is raising the red flag that look at those aspects very well. Because everybody comes to town, part of his agreement is that I want to be exempted from taxes and duties and all those things. And once it comes to Parliament, some of us, you can make all the noise. You can have your say.
Then you can have your vote.
They will have their way. So it's good that it's coming up. I hope, probably because IMF has said it, they'll go back to the drawing board and see how we reduce some of these things. Some are genuine applications. Some is in the government's own interest to say that they carry out the exemptions. But for most of them, I don't think they are justified. Not at all.
All right, I'll come to the IMF bit that you went to, but just some more facts. Customs was given 7,010.32 million revenue target in 2014, but the service managed to collect 6,865.21 million, a drop of 145.11 Ghana cedis, or 2.07%. To the IMF bit, in the 3-year IMF bailouts, the government is required to eliminate the granting of exemptions of tax on vehicles to free zones, reduce exemptions on corporate income tax for free zones companies benefiting from tax holidays by increasing their corporate income tax from 8% to 25% after the tax holidays, and freeze the issue of new permits pending parliamentary approval. This should be good news if we were to follow through.
Yes. You know, like I said, some are in the interest of the country, but we need to be circumspect in the application. You know, when we're attracting the multinationals to come directly into mining, apart from those who have already been established, there's always a 10-year tax-free regime in terms of import duties and things like that. But you know what some of the not the high-level mining we're doing? They will do 9 years, sell the company to another person, and also start the 1 year from there. And therefore, continuously, instead of 10 years, they will be abusing the system. This is a very serious one. And like they have said, the free zones one. I think that he spoke about Professor Amir's concern when he gave the first State of the Nation address. So we show that it has been going on. What it means for me and you is that it's becoming an issue, and I'm told it has come before. I had about 10,000 diapers donated from the United States in 2012. Was it 2011 or so? 10,000 donated, airlifted, free. Just to get a waiver was a problem. I lost it due to demurrage.
In Ghana?
In Ghana. And I found it very interesting because the stages you go through for exemption, it went up to customs when they approved, and then they
well,
said...
you were not a minister then, right?
No, I was a chief executive.
But the chief executives are really powerful.
Now, that's what I'm telling you. What the system, if you want to squeeze it, it can be. It went to the customs at long last said, no, you don't qualify under the tariffs, so you don't get it. So I think that Parliament, executive, all of us should combine to look at the regime and establish strong boundaries beyond who we should not exceed.
Is this possible?
It should be possible because now a concern. IMF also raised.
Because we know that sometimes some of the politicians would even be the ones to point in terms of the rules, because you know this is our country, we know it better than foreigners. Sometimes we lead them to go through some of these processes and get the exemptions.
Well, it will be. So we should take it more as human behavior. But institutions should be stronger and the boundaries should be well declared. So that
it's not institutions who should be stronger. Government in power. If your policy, finance minister will not come to parliament and bring a motion that we should waive 35 million for Huawei because Huawei is coming to invest here. Those are the things that we should be
so
practical
that's,
about.
So that's where you think the problem is?
Yes.
You know what?
I mean, we should cut down on some of these things.
You know what? Whilst it is important, let's not sit here and tie anybody's hands. That's why I try to involve Parliament. We should see the reality of every situation and judge it as such.
But you see, when we go to Parliament, Parliament is majority-minority. Majority rules.
You know what? I told you about the fact that Professor May said it. So it's a regime that has been going on. So let's not go to that one.
No, I said it's multiplied tenfold.
That's what you said.
Yes, and the records are there to prove it.
That is what you said.
I've even put in a question for the finance minister to come and answer.
Principally, that's not what should be answered. What should be answered is that, has it been going on? Yes. Did Professor Mace raise it? Yes, it did. Is it going on now?
7
yes.
years down the line, what has been done?
The important thing is that it went on, it's going on. What do we do to resolve it? It is important. The moment we put in that angle, it creates a problem.
That's wait for IMF.
That's why we don't solve problems.
So his
to me,
no, we have to solve problems.
We should raise it and get strong barriers of operation.
Okay, because he's come out with one of the recommendations.
And I'm saying that if the barrier is not clear, if we define and get strong barriers and Minister of Finance even comes, it's a matter of law and principle that we cannot go beyond this barrier. That's something. Let's get the barriers very right and stick to them. Simple. But if they are not, it's not very clear, who will come? Somebody will come. So to me, it is important we take it as a problem. It has been raised here. It's been raised by IMF. We should go and have a look at it.
Even if people want to bring mere $10 million, they want waivers. And we accept these things.
So let's go to the barriers and get it.
We've calculated the VAT and the duty they would have paid, blah, 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 is now, so we waive $200,000. What is this business?
Do we really see it as a problem?
There's
because
another angle I want us to look at, and it comes. It's like the building industry or any of those things. Maybe government has to pay a component to this company, and then you waive receipt plus and minus. To avoid issues of that one, can't you even say that, don't worry, if it's government, just pay, eventually take your tax, so that we don't have a way of people doing it. Because at times it is just pay and take it back. Do we therefore stop it entirely to be calculated as part of the loss? So we can define that for the sake of preventing abuse and things like that, let everybody pay, and whoever deserves a refund through tax regime, just do it and get it back as a plus and minus, so that we don't get anything at all to happen. Because those plus and minuses, ordinarily, if you're looking at accounts, should not be counted as a loss. But because it became a part of the regime, it will be counted.
Yeah. Honorable, he's also added one. This one should work.
That you should be allowed to pay.
Yes.
Why not? The rules are very clear. I mean, I remember very well. The one institution wanted to do an amusement park. They said they were ready to bring in so much, but they needed approval from the finance minister that they would get certain waivers. I spoke to the finance minister. He knows me, I know him very well because we were all at Internal Revenue Service. And what he said was that you're also a taxman. My opinion is that they should go under the various tax regimes and exemption regimes and then have their whatever they want. I will not be in a position to front and say that they should have these waivers. That should be the attitude every time. It shouldn't be like, this is a local business, local company, so they should go through this. But because 98.9% of the exemptions which come to Parliament, they are from foreign companies.
So we should treat the local companies and the foreign the same.
So if you agree that people can go for tax holidays, etc., as the laws provide, let them go through it. Don't let it look like this is a condition precedent. Because he is bringing money, condition precedent. So I also have to go to Parliament and apply for waiver of all these things. Eventually, they don't help us.
If you look at even MP's vehicles and the others, what happens? Because the nation will need to pay. It's negotiated. We have to buy a car. The duty will have to be paid. Government will need to pay it. How do we handle that one? Does the government pay?
Yeah, so I mean, we treat government the same. Pay and then we'll refund.
Exactly. That's my view. So the same thing, government pays and then it will be refunded. So that it wouldn't be like anybody has that advantage. It will be stated as such that you paid, and then when yours was also due, it was paid.
Wouldn't it be good if this were to come?
The bottom line is that we should all be on one page. what are the rules and regulations
Exactly.
for exemptions.
Okay.
That's
So
what I'm saying.
we all
That's what-
monitor and stick
exactly.
to it.
Good boundaries, let's monitor.
All right.
Otherwise, everybody, like, you look at Mama's face with her glasses on. She deserves exemption.
Yeah, you give me bum.
Bam. Look at what will be, he's too troublesome. To take him 10 years, he won't get exemption.
So you refuse him.
You refuse
Yes.
him.
Yeah. All right.
Discretion.
Interesting conversation we've had. But when are you going for your vetting?
Well, I haven't been informed yet, probably because I'm unopposed.
Oh, okay. So yours is a done deal.
And because I'm already a city member of parliament, everything they need to know about me, they know. But
Okay.
anytime I'm called, I'll go for the vetting.
I'm interested in knowing because when I see you, I feel, there's some parliamentary ambitions. Are you going to parliament?
He wish, except that where he's coming from, he doesn't get it.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the same feeling? Because,
Oh, it's obvious. Obuasi is the Waterloo for them. So
It is not,
Arawako.
Obuasi has never been a Waterloo. Historically, it is not true. Up to Lemar regime, PMP, when it was even a wilder constituency, it was PMP that won. So there's a history beyond its development. But I don't also say that it's an easy seat to get. It's quite a force. I've been through it 2008 and 2012.
Are you going again?
I am going again.
Mugabe
Okay.
is a
I'm
Mugabe.
going. Oh, me and you.
Obuasi
I wish you
Mugabe.
well, though.
Yeah,
I wish
thanks.
you well.
Yeah,
Thank you so
thanks.
much for your time.
Thanks.
John
Thanks.
Alexander Akon is Deputy Minister of
Yes.
Gender, Children and Social Protection. The Honorable Say Bonso Amwa is an MP for Ekrapim South constituency in the Eastern region who is going unopposed. All right, that will be it. This is where we end the talk. Indeed, this is where we wrap up the show. Thank you for joining from 6 a.m. till now. God willing, Roland Walker is back with me here tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day.